a lot of the Facebook Live things because I've been doing it for just the clients, but I'm getting ready to do those webinars that I have one scheduled in the group, and then I have two more I'm going to do that I'm going to open to the public.
Well, hello, and we are live. And that would be great because I do love your webinars. Ladies, and I think we probably have a few gentlemen around.
Good.
I am here with as I told y'all, world renowned. Y'all, she left me and went to live in Puerto Rico, and she will not come home. Now I can tell you why she won't come home because we got weather like this outside.
No.
Oh, it is really scary out here. I don't know why I got this curtain open like I'm not scared of cats.
Oh no.
Oh, Stacy, please tell us who you are and what you do. I need you to explain to the world.
And sometimes it can be a little confusing to folks because I do a lot. I've always been sort of an eclectic individual. But my name is Stacy Badon. I am a person who is very determined to educate and empower parents and educators who are willing to come to the table and listen. Um, you know, I wake up every morning to uh, educate one more person. Like literally, that's what I do, and also to empower parents. My background is speech therapy. As Delasper said, I didn't leave you, Delasper, but I did leave Louisiana. But I left it for a good reason. I was a speech therapist in South Louisiana and loved being a speech therapist. I've always worked with kids with special needs. When I was a teenager, I was the babysitter for kids with special needs. When my mom would come home, she would say, "Who is that kid with Down syndrome in the backyard?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's Miss Mary's grandson visiting for the weekend," right? Like I was that person. So this has always been something that I've been really passionate about. And then as a speech therapist, I met this wonderful little boy that just sparked my passion and my interest for autism and directed me into my purpose and what I'm supposed to do. And so fast forward after going back to school and training, and I love going to school, but I promised my sons when they started college I would stop. I just love, I like learning. I really like learning. But luckily, we have webinars that are available, so I can still get a little bit of education without going back to college. So I ended up, getting different trainings, and I have to say, I have been surrounded by the best therapists. Um, I have been able to work with an occupational therapist that is wonderful. I've had 3 OTs that have just really, I've learned a lot from them, but I will say when I met that little boy, Lamar, and the occupational therapist we had, I read one book and it was The Out of Sync Child. And I said, this makes sense to me. And I went to the OT and she said, oh, yes, they're starting to do trainings. And I was like, oh, I want to go to a training. And she said, well, it's only for occupational therapists. I said, I want to go to a training. She said, but it's only for. So the first one she went to, and then I was so like just talking about it and on her. And then I just went with her. She was like, you know what? Nobody asked for credentials. You're a speech therapist. Just come on, let's go. And so that was it. And that's how I caught the sensory bug after catching, that sort of like spark in my life in regards to autism. And anyone who knows me knows that I genuinely just appreciate autistic individuals. I do. And I'm not going to get emotional in the beginning because I want to make sure that my message is heard. But I do this because I love it. All right,
Okay, we're gonna see if we can pull you back a little bit.
Yes. So that is how I got here in regards to talking to you. There's a lot of stuff in between, but this is what I do every day. Yes.
Yeah, I was blessed to meet you. I think I met you virtually online, and
Mm-hmm.
then I went to I think it was a Chase Answers
Yep, it was. Mm-hmm.
session, and I went and I was like, that looks like that lady.
Hmm.
that I see online all the time. And my friends and I were talking, and we were like, that's who it is. And when I met you, I was like, okay, can you help me with my child? Because even being an educator myself, I was a
Hmm.
regular ed teacher and I didn't deal with our special needs babies.
Hmm.
But then I found out even our special needs teachers didn't really know what they were doing when they were dealing with our special needs babies. But
Yeah.
I didn't have sense enough to know that back then. I thought I was just dumb and didn't know what I was doing. And I met you and I said, can you help me with this little girl? Because I could handle 30 kids in one classroom,
Hmm.
all on different levels, all doing different things. But one little girl came in my house and totally frazzled my brain. I don't know what to do. And I'll never forget when you came to the house that day and you looked at her and it was like, okay, let's do this. And you had her doing stuff. And I was like,
I remember you said, I didn't know she could do that. I'm like, of course she can. Of course she
it was just things that I had no idea. And especially I think about, I keep in my head those little twist ties
can.
that
Hmm.
you bundle up into a little ball and
Hmm.
you just handed her the ball. You didn't say anything to her. You didn't. I was like, is she just gonna give it to her and not gonna tell her what to do? And the next thing I know, y'all, this little girl that I don't even know knows her colors is separating these little
Hmm.
ties and placing them
She's
in
sorting.
different sets.
She's
And I'm like,
sorting. Hmm.
really? Really?
And
And then
those are
when
the
I go to talk, you go up. No.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, but what? Okay. But even now, I find myself going, okay, if I could just get to Stacy,
Mm-mm.
I could know what this means.
Hmm.
If I could just, and sometimes I find myself trying to catch a video of her
Hmm.
doing things so that I could send it to you and say, okay, what's going on? I just kind of need to know what's going on right now. So I'll know how to react to this.
Hmm.
So the one thing that you've taught me, and this is the thing that I really, and I told you I really want to get across, is that we worry about the things that our babies are doing. And you always told me that behavior is communication.
Hmm.
So when my daughter, and I can only use her because I feel like I could talk about my own child. When my daughter takes some paper towels or some toilet tissue, and I wish I really had some, and
Hmm.
she separates the layers
Hmm.
and then she splits it in half and she takes one and she puts it on this side and she takes the other one and she puts it on this side
Hmm.
for hours.
Hmm.
What could she possibly be trying to communicate
She
other
is
than you need to clean your house?
she is communicating to you, I am not regulated, so I'm going to do this so that I can organize my system. So I need this time so that I can organize my system. So please allow me to do this. Or, provide some sensory input that fits her needs. Now I do know, and I know everyone knows that Amory has multiple diagnoses. So she has some physical things that we have to make sure that we protect her health wise. So there are some sensory needs that she needs, but physically it's hard for her, or just in terms of her health, making sure, like outside, there are lots of things that will be beneficial, but we have to balance the heat and the temperature to make sure that she stays healthy, to provide those. So that is what she's communicating. And it's okay. And I always say it's no different than someone sitting on Pinterest for hours and scrolling on Facebook or Pinterest. That's your way of organizing after work, blocking out all the people so you don't want to talk to anyone because you need to decompress. We all do things, but we don't look at it as actually having a purpose because we don't understand it. And that's what I do when I talk to parents and educators, is help them understand, what is that? Why is my child doing that? Right? Is it just, oh my gosh, they just want to make a mess? I don't really know about that. And I have BCBA certification, master's level. I understand. I'm a speech therapist, sensory enrichment. The behavior strategies are effective. I don't disagree with behavior strategies. However, when we look at autism as a behavior disorder, which it is not, I repeat, autism is not a behavior disorder. um, we're trying to change behaviors and make a child do things without looking at why aren't they doing it? Why can't they do it? And I am a firm believer, if children do not, that means they can't. If children can, they will. They will. But they can if we provide them with the support they need. And I say this all the time, and I know that people get tired of me saying the same thing over and over again, but I'm like, I say it over and over again because it works. And I'm not talking about this from, oh, I'm the speech therapist that, comes in the room, or I'm not the parent. I have been in the classroom with 8 students that are autistic, no paraeducator, and I had to plan, prepare, and set them up for success. That was my job, right? So that they could walk into a classroom and be prepared to learn, have everything they need to support them. And I'm the one that needs to do the hard work so that they can participate in their learning experience. And it is hard work, but if you understand what you need to do, if you plan and you organize, it can be done. It can be done. Teachers just have to want to do it. Parents have to want to do it. And it's a lot of work. I'm not saying, it's a lot of work. When I suggest a strategy, it's about the consistency. It's about, yes, you may not be able to go out to the shopping mall on Saturday because you are reinforcing, or you're working on a strategy, or you're trying to do potty training. But if you commit to that during this small part, short period with consistency, then in the long run, it's so much easier. It's just so much easier. But that's like anything, right? Anything. If you prep for Thanksgiving dinner, it's easier on Thanksgiving Day. If you prep for an event, it's easier on the day of the event. If you plan how you want to parent, if you organize your routines in your classroom runs a little bit more efficiently. Yes, you're going to have things that happen. Yes, life gets in the way. Yes, we have meltdowns at times, but we can avoid having those situations if we provide what our kids need. And one of the things, everybody knows I'm so passionate about providing sensory input for our children. It makes a difference. And, in terms of when I spoke about it, I read the book and it made sense to me, and then I implemented and wanted to learn more. I realized when I let Brandon jump on the trampoline for 30 minutes before speech therapy, Brandon was ready for speech therapy. Now, what did I have to do as a teacher? And when I was an early intervention teacher as well, I actually stepped out of the speech path role and said, can I go into the classroom with the kids all day, every day? Like, I want to see if I can implement some of these strategies. So what I had to do in that classroom, I had to say, we have circle time before speech. Brandon can jump on the trampoline while we do circle time, because speech is a priority. And what we also have to remember is Brandon is getting regulation while he's jumping. He's picking up everything we're talking about in circle time. As a teacher, everybody learns differently. And some kids need to move while they're learning. Some kids need to stand or move around or have alternate seating. My classroom, kids learn and can sit however they want to sit. And my principals knew it was the walk in and all right, Miss Badon, I know you know. All right, I'm not going to ask any questions because, I didn't have to call the principal. I didn't have to call the parents. We were doing what the kids needed. Even simple things, when in regards to sensory in the classroom, the fluorescent lights can be very, very annoying to our children who are getting that visual sensory input. And they have panels now that you can put in your classroom. But before the panels, I used to pop out the plastic and put material and pop it back in. And every 3 months, the fire marshal comes in and says, Miss Badon, I need you to take those panels. It's a fire hazard. I'm like, check. Whatever, see you in 3 months. My kids are in here every day. And most of the time, I don't use the lights anyway. I try to always get as much natural light because I'm always thinking, if I can think about the sensory environment in the classroom and making it safe, we want to make a sensory safe environment, then I just cover everything, right? So I don't know who needs necessarily the fluorescent lights
Mhm.
covered, but I'm just going to cover them anyway to make sure that, I'm going to put foam over the speaker for the fire drill. That is definitely something that sends a child into meltdown mode when it is an emergency and you need to get out. So how can I make sure that my students will be able to follow the safety protocols? I need to make a sensory safe environment, and covering the fire drill speaker with foam is not going to prevent you from hearing that there's a fire drill. First of all, you can hear it in the hallway. You don't need to have it in your classroom. However, you do because that's the law or regulations. But that's a simple way. So it kind of makes the tone not so startling for kids who can't process that auditory information.
I'm listening to you, and it's like Victoria said. And I wish I could find her statement, but it's like a passion that you have. It is there. It is. Uh, you light up when you're talking about all these things that the normal person is not even thinking about.
Mhm.
And when we start thinking about things like that, kind of like with AIM, I had to learn there are certain things that she can do that I
Mhm.
literally cannot stand. She
Mhm.
can go through her iPad,
Mhm.
and the speed in which she can read
Yeah.
all of that stuff
Mhm.
worries my vertigo. So
Yeah.
I have to turn away from her
Yep.
and let her do what she's doing and then turn
Mhm.
back.
Yep.
And I go, that's interesting. And now when you started talking to me about the fluorescent lighting, I
Mhm.
started paying attention. And then my eye could actually see the flickering of
Mhm.
that light that I could not see before.
Mhm.
So, how do we get our educational staff, our parents,
Mhm.
to understand that it's not so much about making our children conform to
Mhm.
our rules and our guidelines and our societal nicks and knacks,
Mhm.
that we can conform to them and make the world better for more than just them, because
Mhm.
I'm not on the spectrum, but some of those things that people who are on the spectrum have that bother them bother
Mhm.
me too. And it's because of my vertigo. So it would be nice to know that this could change the world, not
Mhm.
just the world for Amory or the world for Aaliyah or King, my other friends. I gotta know what I need to do
Yeah.
as a parent to be able to reach those people and say, could we try something else
Mhm.
without being that mad woman that's coming at the teacher going, I
Mhm.
said my child didn't need this.
Yeah.
So how do we approach them?
It's interesting that you asked that question because last night I spoke to a group of students at Xavier University who are going to be going into leadership in the schools. And it was about that school to home connection. I am a firm believer that parents, all parents, have something to offer, have something uh, that they can share that is a benefit. I think parents have a lot of power. I think it's getting, my job is to help parents understand their power, right? Like if I educate you, you really can make a difference. I mean, I have families in I have a dad in Bangladesh and a mom in, I think it's Benghazi, where we hear the stories about the war that I work with because they don't have therapists. Their children are not allowed to go to school. There are no facilities or schools for kids with special needs. So they're having to do everything, but they have the power to do it. They just needed the knowledge. And, the key is, I believe if parents are empowered with knowledge, then you can advocate for your kids, and then you model advocating for your kids, and then your children learn to advocate for themselves, and then they go into the world as adults and they advocate for themselves. Now, what does that look like, right? What does it look like? And you know how my brain works, right? I have like 500 ideas. um, so in terms of what it looks like, because that's where parents are like, well, I don't understand, they have to, in the world. And I said, no, 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 no. When we have someone who is hearing impaired, they can advocate and say, I'm deaf in my right ear. I need to sit on this side. I need to sit to the right of you to hear the lecture, professor. That's fine. That's advocating for yourself. When someone is in a wheelchair or needing some assistance, right? We have ramps available for them so they can be independent. When someone is autistic, sensory processing, it's invisible. So we just all assume, oh, we don't need to accommodate, we don't need to do anything. Yes, we do. And part of that, because it's invisible, you have to know how to advocate as a parent, and then your child needs to know how to advocate. Perfect example in regards to an adult. My dear friend Dorothy, who just happens to be an autistic woman and just had baby Sophia, Dorothy had to go pick up some diapers for the baby. So you know how it is when you have a new baby, right? You don't sleep well, and then all of us are tired when we have a new baby. And then of course, when you're autistic and you have sensory processing, you're just like, your sensory system is just shot, right? So Dorothy advocated for herself, went into the Walmart and said, she went to customer service and she said, hi, I'm a new mom and I need to pick up a couple of things for my baby, and I'm an autistic individual and I have sensory processing difficulties sometimes. I'm not sure if I can wait in a long line. Do you mind if I check out here? You know what they said? Fine. Because Dorothy advocated for herself with pride, not shame, right? Like this whole shame around autism, I'm just like, squash, squash, squash it. I'm just so over it. Because it's not a behavior disorder. It's not a mental disorder, a behavior, emotional. Our children are out of control. It is a different way of processing the information from the environment, which impacts communication and how we respond. And so when we say the respond, right? When, like you said, Amory's doing this or Amory's scanning really quick, your response is, okay, I can't take that, so I'm going to make an adjustment and I'm going to turn away, right? I have parents that have kids who need to verbal stem, so they wear earplugs. I'm like, if you keep telling them to stop verbal stemming, they're going to keep melting down. Let them get what they need. You put on earplugs. You don't have the disability. You can make the adjustment. Like, seriously, get over yourself. I mean, I tell parents all the time, get over yourself with being uncomfortable sometimes. Do you understand your child is working hard every minute of the day to process 8 different sensory systems? Just to get to that chair and answer a question is hard work, right? And you, Delasper, know better than anyone, when you and I had the conversation, when I was really frustrated that they were not, the clinic where she was going, they weren't letting her work on, and she was having all these meltdowns, and I kept asking you questions. I don't understand. And they were punishing her for not being able to do something that she physically could not do. So that is where I push back on not understanding, not looking, not trying to figure out. And I have lots of discussions with colleagues in regards to different therapies. And I can tell you 90% of the time, whether they say the function is escape or attention seeking, I can direct it right back to sensory or communication, right back to sensory communication. When a child walks up to another child and pushes them, that's communication. They're communicating, one, maybe, I'd like to play with you. I don't really know how to ask. They're communicating, two, I'd like to ask you something. Don't really know how, right? But when you push someone, you get their attention, right? It's an immediate response. Or they are communicating, your strawberry shampoo or your ponytail that keeps swinging is really overloading my sensory system. Get away from me now, right? That is what we need to think about and look into. And that is where, as educators, as parents, we need to just watch. Just watch. Like, stop trying to control and just watch and observe, and then you really gain a lot of insight. In regards to the sensory, one of the things that, besides the fact that autism is not a behavior disorder and communication is very important, the sensory, we learn the 5 sensory systems. Well, there are 8, not 5. And one of the things a lot of parents will say is, well, you know, my child doesn't have any sensory needs, or there's no sensory challenges because they don't cover their ears, or they don't need to fidget, right? Sensory is so much more than that, right? It is taking in information. For me to sit here, right, I'm taking in what we call proprioceptive input. That proprioceptive input is telling me where my body is in relation to space, so that I can take my left hand without looking and I can pick up a glass and I can bring it to my mouth, because I'm getting the feedback that says, this is where your body hand is in relation to space. A lot of our kids are not getting that information. They're not getting it efficiently. They're not getting it correctly. And so what do? They grab the cup like this, right? Or they sit in the chair like this, right? Because they're not getting that feedback that says, this is where your body is in relation to space. Now, I understand how it is perceived as, oh, we have all kinds of behavior problems. Okay, fine. Technically, it is a behavior, but let's dig a little deeper to figure out what's going on. And when you dig a little deeper, it's either communication-based, sensory overload, or simply, I cannot process the information in my environment, so I cannot respond in a way that I need to respond or I should respond. All of our kids are responding to the environment in a manner that their system is telling them what the information is. When kids do this, when you're singing, right, you're just singing. They can sing, they're listening to the video. When you start singing, they're like, ah! What's happening is their system is telling them, danger, danger, too loud, danger, danger. It's not giving the right information efficiently and consistently. And so their response is, danger, danger, loud, loud, oh, I have to cover my ears, right? And then, of course, we have those awful paraeducators that say, put your hands down in the hallway. And I'm like, you know what? If he kicks you, I'm not doing anything, because I told you to let him cover his ears while we walk through the hallway, because he needs to do that. And who cares if he walks with his hands to his side? When he starts kicking you and the other kids, it's because you didn't allow him to protect his sensory system. It's really that simple. It really is that simple. I mean, I say that speaking from the perspective that I understand, but it really is simple in regards to the solutions. You just have to think about it. You have to consider where the child is coming from. That's why I'm doing that series, The Autistic Perspective. That's why we're all reading that new book that you just got. We need to start understanding. We are in a time, when I started this, Delasper, you know, when teachers tell me, oh, you know, I mean, our district's just not training us. Okay, give me something else. That's not a good enough excuse. I was a speech therapist. I received a child who had, you know, a rare syndrome. A student on my caseload with autism. I have to figure out what to do. That's my job. So I need to educate myself. I did this when we didn't have Google or YouTube or phones, or I think we just started AOL dial-up, right? I mean, internet's really just 20 something years old. It's really not that, it's really, when I had babies 24 years ago, we did not have cell phones. So I think people forget that this is all really new. But I had a responsibility to figure it out, because that was my job. I mean, it was what I had to do. And these are our children. They're children. Like, they're children. They're people. So anyway.
And see, I'm learning that if I could stand cold weather, I would probably move to New York, because the more I talk to people there, the better their systems seem to be set up for our babies. Our systems here in Louisiana are not set up very well for our babies. And I see where Amory is concerned, I see the regression, because they weren't prepared for COVID-19 virtual learning.
Yeah.
Amory loves her iPad, but she does not believe that you should be in that iPad.
Yes.
Because she knows you.
Yeah.
She won't even talk to my mom on the iPhone, on FaceTime. It's not supposed to be there. So
exactly.
She just
she has a set rule in her head what the iPad is supposed to be used for, and that is not it.
So she's getting basically marked absent from
Hmm.
school because not only is she not doing the work,
Yeah.
she's not even allowing herself to sign on.
Hmm.
It's like, yeah, oh, no, you don't want to know. I don't want to do that. And I'm like, okay, baby, we need to sign you on.
Hmm.
So just the other day, I called the teacher and said, can you set me up a box?
Hmm.
Everything that you're going to try to do in class
Hmm.
with your students, I need you to send to me
Yeah.
so that she can literally do it with me
Hmm.
because she is not going to give you these answers
Yeah.
on the computer. And he was like, but I need her. I said, no, what we need is you
Hmm.
need to understand that, and Stacy, you know this, once Amory completes a task,
Hmm.
do not even get it twisted. She shall not do it again.
Oh, okay, Delasper, you have to share how you know that information. Or do you want me to share?
Well,
You
see,
share. Share that story.
you guys, was the really proud mom because my baby had this puzzle.
Mhm.
And it was, I think there was triangle, square, rectangle, circle, oval. And Amory did the puzzle perfectly. It was wonderful. I wanted her to do it again. And she wasn't having it. It was like, I just did that. I'm not doing it anymore. I was like, come on, come on, come on. And Stacy, being the love that she is, said, she's done it already.
Yes.
Put it away.
Yep.
There's no reason to do it again. And I was
Mhm.
like, but she needs to do it again so that I could see that she really knew what she was doing. And she said, she did it.
Mhm.
She knew what she was doing.
Yes.
I was like, okay. So I had to learn that once I ask her to do something and she does it,
Mhm.
don't ask her to do it again.
Yep.
And in fact, where Amory's concerned, don't ask her to do it again 3 days later
Yeah.
because she's going to look at you like, didn't I just do that?
Mhm.
I just did that the other day. Why are you bringing it back to me?
Mhm. Yep.
So it's kind of interesting
Mhm.
because where we have issues though is in the IEPs when they say 7 out of 9 times
Mhm.
she's going to do this.
Mhm.
Well, guess what? She's never going to get over those to the
Mhm.
next level in that IEP because
Mhm.
7 out of 9 times she is not
Yeah.
going
Mhm.
to do this unless she has a specific purpose for doing it.
Mhm.
And that's where my whatever with ABA came in
Mhm.
because they would want to say, Amory, raise your arms up. Amory, put your arms up. And she looked at him like,
Mhm.
and you could see in her face that she was saying, but why?
Mhm.
And they would say, she can't put her arms up. Yes, she can.
Mhm.
And I'd walk in and I go, Amory, let's take your shirt off.
Mhm. Yep.
She needed a reason.
Mhm.
And I was like, but you're not giving her something because she's not doing this thing that you haven't given her a reason
Mhm.
why she needs to do it.
Mhm.
And I had to stop and think. And I remember when I was in first grade and they gave me this list of 100 problems. And you had to do this 100 problem math test. Now, I was failing math. I was a straight A student, but I was failing math. Why was I failing math? My math teacher had to figure it out.
Mhm.
On line one, you might ask me what 2 plus 4 was, and
Mhm.
I tell you 6.
Mhm.
On line nine, you'd ask me what 4 plus 2 was. I had told you on line one. So I saw no reason to come back and tell you on line nine
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah.
So I found out Amory was like me.
Mhm.
If I've done this before, there's no reason for me to do it again. So that's where I am now in the educational world because I'm going, she's gonna do it. When she does it, you better catch it.
Mhm.
because she's not going to do it again unless you give her a reason.
Yeah.
And the reason has got to be a valid reason
Mhm.
why she should do it, because it's not just we do it on command because I tell you to do it.
And the other thing is, autistic individuals are very concrete thinkers. So, my autistic friends always say, you neurotypicals spend a lot of time wasting talking about stuff that doesn't really matter. I'm like, you're right, we do. We talk about a lot of stuff that doesn't matter. Like you and I talked for about 5 minutes about the weather, right? Does that really matter? Oh, well, it kind of does, but it doesn't, but it does. So, and an autistic individual may find that to be like, oh, I'm going to save my words for maybe something else a little bit more substantial. And I'm using that very loose generalization, right? But they're very concrete thinkers, which I always say they are the easiest students to teach once you know and understand, because I teach once, I show once, they get it. I never have to reteach, ever have to reteach. And I'll share, I'll go back to the puzzle to help everybody understand. Think of it in terms of, so this is what I do understand. I understand the parent perspective of, oh my gosh, I need to know they can do it, right? So I'm going to check. I'm going to check again. I'm going to check again. I'm going to check, 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 right? And the concrete thinker is just like, why are you checking? I just like did it, right? So I tell parents, it's no different than if you made a really nice turkey for Thanksgiving and it was beautiful and everybody's like, oh my gosh, that turkey's great. And then they take it and then they dump it in the sink and say, now let me see if you can make that turkey again. If you really know how to make a turkey. I don't know if you really know how to make a turkey, or maybe it was just luck. How would you feel? You would be infuriated. And you wonder why they throw a chair or throw the puzzle at you. Because I just did that and you just dumped it and said, do it again. And do you know how hard it might have been for me to execute that function and get that done? Do you know how hard I had to work to regulate myself to do this task? And now you want me to do it again? Yes. So that is what's going on. Now, I'm not saying that our children should not follow directions, right? My classroom is not children running around. My classroom is very organized and very orderly. And all of my students complete their tasks. But it's because I have stuff in place, right? It's not that I'm saying, oh, let the children just do a puzzle whenever they feel like it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if we understand and we present it to them in a way that they can process, they will be able to do it if we set them up with supports. And part of that support is the sensory component, which is not addressed in the classroom. And even at home, we parents are still learning. No one's telling parents about getting occupational therapy. We're not getting the talk around sensory. Sensory is not just, touching things, feeling things, squeezing things. Like, it's not just that. There's so much more involved in terms of processing your environment. Kids that are jumping on the sofa, swinging, running around the classroom, they're communicating. I am dysregulated. Can somebody get me some sensory input, please? Because I need support. That's what we're communicating. I cannot process this environment. Can someone make sure that I get what I need? And that's where, doing those sensory activities. And yes, that means they may miss the first 40 minutes of reading, but you know what? That last 20 minutes of reading, they are done with their work and finished. My students can finish their work in 2 hours tops, and then we have the rest of the day. It doesn't take long if you provide them with what they need. Our kids are intellectually, autism is not an intellectual delay, right? We know that. Now, you can have other diagnosis. I mean, I have kids with Down syndrome and autism, kids who are visually impaired with autism. Mm-hmm. My most challenging in terms of, there are a couple of questions I have for God when I get up there, because there are a couple of things I just need a little clarification on. One is parasites. I have a real issue with parasites, right? Mosquitoes growing up in New Orleans. I have a real issue with that. One of my questions, but there's a wonderful little boy, and this is just an example of educators can, if they want to as well, right? It's not just the kids. And this little boy, just the sweetest, funniest, strong-willed little kiddo, diagnosed with autism, then diagnosed with eye cancer, lost one eye, diagnosed later with eye cancer again. He has both eyes removed. Autistic individuals are visual learners. So we have to figure out, myself and the visually impaired teacher who was wonderful, how do we like navigate this for this kiddo, right? He's got to learn to navigate with a cane. He's got to learn Braille. We've got sensory. We've got to communicate. But we work together, right? And we figured out strategies for him to help him with that. So that's a question. That's one of my questions. Like, God, I mean, both the eyes, and I'm not saying that it's like the worst thing in the world, but it's like one of those things where I was like, no, not the eyes, like, like visually,
Yeah.
it's like, but it is really understanding the sensory component and realizing that your child is not refusing to, they are not acting out, they are not doing or not doing because they just don't want to. There is something behind that. There is something they need support with. And the sensory regulation, it's just, they call it a sensory diet in terms of like the routines that you do, but it's not related to food. And I haven't come up with a better terminology besides sensory routine or sensory plan, because sometimes diet folks get confused about food and what do I need to, but it's the same concept of we feed ourselves 3 meals a day, 2 snacks a day to sustain our input of food, right? So we don't get too hungry. And the same with sensory. If we provide sensory input throughout the day, then you maintain that regulation. I mean, you have to do it every day. I mean, it's not like you can just say, okay, I did it and now I'm done. It has to be done on a regular basis. And what happens to our kiddos, for those of you who are parents that your child comes home from school and we call it delayed explosion, right? Like the school is like, oh, we don't have any of those problems at the school. That's because they've been masking all day, holding it together, sensory explosion. Then they get home, parents get all of it, right? Because they did not get what they needed sensory-wise in the classroom. Think of it in terms of if you sent your child to school and there was no food all day, they would come home ravenous. And it's the same in regards to sensory processing and meeting their sensory needs. If we meet their sensory needs, it is just amazing. And we have to, one of the things I help parents to understand is we have to do a little give and take, right? So doing that sensory activity before you go to the grocery store is going to really benefit the grocery store experience. But if you don't do it because whatever you say happened or whatever, then you're going to have some issues. It's going to be a struggle because this is what your child needs. And I always tell parents and remind them, if you had a child who was diabetic and they needed regular shots of insulin, would you not provide that insulin to them? Would you not have a timer? Would you not have a schedule? Would you not document with the app what you're doing and check their insulin levels? You would, because that helps them to survive. And it's the same with sensory. If you do not provide what they need, they're cutting water in their environment, struggling to process and navigate their environment. So that's where we have to make sure that they have what they need. And it really is simple. It's really simple.
Stacy, I do not remember you got me wanting to cry, but I do not remember the name of the book that you had me to order, but it's in my bedroom. It stays on my nightstand. It's the back of it has been pulled off by you know who. But do you remember the book that tells you your child is doing this? This is something that might help them.
The Out of Sync Child? Or is it the one that I sent you that was printable?
It's the one that was printable.
It's called The Understanding Your Child's Sensory Needs. Yeah.
Yes. That book, y'all.
It's like a Bible, right?
That's all
like
I can say. That book.
Yes.
That book. And there were things that you think no other child in the world is doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go, wait a minute, it's in the book.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the book. Amory walks around with, and I'm going to use my phone, her iPad, and her iPad stays like this.
Mm-hmm.
And she looks at it like this.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's in the book.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay. And I
I
find
know.
myself telling her dad when he's going, don't do that. I was like, no, go look at the book and see what the
Mhm.
book says.
Yep.
And one day it was like, wrap her up and
Mhm.
put her in a pool of, well, they said marshmallows and shaving cream. And we were
Yes.
like, ooh, okay. But we did it.
Mhm.
And guess what? For like 2 hours that whole day, she wasn't like this.
Mhm.
I was like, okay, but we can't keep her in there, so we got to figure out something to do.
Yeah.
But get the book, y'all. Y'all, I'm telling you, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Stacy, I want you to tell everybody about how to get in touch with you. The first person who gets in touch with you that needs your support, No Greater Love does have a session with you, one
Oh,
session
cool.
available. So
Cool.
let me know who that is, and we will give that to them. But let them know exactly how to get in touch with you
Mhm.
and what you can offer them. Because I know you're so busy, but
I know everybody says that. I like to be busy, and my children are grown. But you can. I see that you have my website, Autism for Home, and if you go to the website, you actually it says I can't remember what it says. Like I don't know, book online or. But if you click on that, it'll bring you to the bottom where you can actually schedule to meet me, or you can just send an email in that little icon that says like chat or message. And I do have a page. With some free resources and some of my recorded webinars. I'm super excited because this is year 5 since I launched my business, and I had a complete renovation of my website because I wanted to offer some new things for families, different options, and I will, quickly just share in terms of this business sparked out of necessity. I am I am not I am not interested. I do not want to be a business owner. I am only a business owner running a business because it's the only way for me to do what I'm supposed to do every day, all day. It's not like, oh, I want to run my own business. Not really. However, when I was working for a school district in Texas, and Texas has a law where parents get in-home parent training. So I was the person that was sent to homes to train parents. And then it became more meetings and less time with parents. And I was just like, okay, this is not why I signed up for this. Like, I just can't sit in these meetings. And I took a trip, volunteered in Ghana, and went for 6 weeks, which was amazing. And I can't wait to get back. It was amazing, amazing. And came back from Ghana, called my supervisor and said, I will not be returning. I'm starting a business and I don't know what I'm doing, but I cannot, I just can't come to work anymore and sit in meetings, and we're not helping families. And then I called my kids and I said, listen, you guys have your football scholarships. You're going to college. I said, listen, mommy is not going back to the school district. I don't know what I'm doing, but I am going to ask 3 things of you. Do not lose your scholarship. Do not get anyone pregnant, and do not go to jail, because I will not be able to help you because I am starting a business. And because my boys were born into my passion for autism, they understood, they supported me, and they're always, Mom, we need our shirts for April. I mean, they're just very um, I don't know what else to say. They didn't have a choice, right? Because they were born, and I would go trick or treating with our families. And I remember my kid Marcel looked at me and he says, "Mommy, do we know any kids that can talk?" And I'm like, "Nope, let's go. We're going trick or treating with the autism families. Let's go." And he was like, "Okay," because I used to my their dad and I. He was also a special education uh, educator, and I would watch the kids, and the families would go on date night because the families don't get to go anywhere. So every Thursday, somebody signed up to drop their kiddo at my house and hang out with me and my family while they went on a date night, because their family would not watch their child. You guys know the drill, like families not supporting um, all the time. Sometimes, you really get lots of support, and some families really struggle. And, that's what I did. And just doing my part. I don't know what else to say, Delasper. I just get up every day. I do what I have to do because I love to do it. And I just want people to know. I just want people to know. That's it.
Well, on behalf of all of your friends that are here with me, I see quite a few of them. Um,
I can't see. You can see. I can't see.
Sharon is a teacher
Mm-hmm.
from DeSoto Parish, where I used to teach. She
Mm-hmm.
is a special needs children's
Mm-hmm.
uh, teacher. I think she's kindergarten
Oh, cool.
and has some autistic kids in her class. Um, and she said she was at school and not supposed to be on, but
I love it.
you know Sean Nicole,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I think she was at. I don't know. I think she's in your group.
Yeah,
Uh,
Sean and
yeah,
I have talked. Yes, we have
right.
definitely chatted, and I love that. I love that. I remember, Delasper, when you and I met to talk about Amory's IEP, and I love that you are now doing that for others. Like that is my legacy, right? I teach a parent, they were support another parent, and then we just keep supporting one another and educating one another. Like that is what I want to happen. I have so many wonderful families that have started nonprofits in their area, which is great, including yourself. And I love that. I mean, that's what I want because I can't do it by myself. I won't, I want another 25, 30 years. I've kind of told God I need about 20, 30 years to just really get my mission completed. And I have lots of places to go, and I'm still waiting on that philanthropist to meet me at the coffee shop and say, you can borrow my plane and I'll give you funding and you can go and provide free training and resources to everyone. That is like what I'm like waiting for that to happen, but it's not time yet, but it will be one day.
It
I'm going
will
to get that.
be. And Victoria is our IEP person. She's our
Yes.
backbone on our IEP.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Dina is our resource person. She she's a guru at knowing the resources for our babies.
I love it.
Um, and I think that's Denise is one of our babies. She's her son is older, so
Mm-hmm.
she's doing the transitioning. So we're learning from her on how to do the transitioning. And
Mm-hmm.
I know you know Kaisha. She's
Yes.
here with us.
And
So
Denise, I'm so sorry,
uh
Delasper. I did not mean to cut you off.
no.
Denise, I just want to let Denise know that I do have my website. I think is on. It's scrolling on the bottom, Denise. But Denise, I do have resources for teens and adults. I've ended up actually working with autistic adults. It wasn't in my initial plan, but it is what it is, and it's been really, really enjoyable. Kids who are like in college, helping them sort of navigate how to advocate for themselves, and a lot of adults that are actually just getting a diagnosis. They've just been misdiagnosed in the system for so long, and now they're finding out, or their parents didn't tell them, which is a whole nother. Yeah, Denise. Okay, Denise. So just to let you guys know, you can, I'm on Facebook. If you look up everything autism, I think if you possibly search my name, there is
Yes.
a Stacy Badon in New Orleans. And I found this out when my first child was 8 months old, when I went to the Walmart to get diapers. There's a Stacy Badon in New Orleans who apparently writes fraudulent or used to write fraudulent checks, and she stabbed her boyfriend, and it was in the newspaper, and people called me, and I'm like, do I look like a person that would stab my boyfriend? Like, I can't believe this. Even my mother called. I was like, really, Mom? So believe
Okay,
it or
y'all,
not,
that is not this Stacy.
I
Okay.
know it's crazy. And my mom always makes a joke. She's like, oh, you have that record. I'm like, I do not have a record. That was somebody else. Like,
Leave
oh
it
my
to
God.
moms. So
Yeah.
no, we just want to thank you so, so very much. You know
No,
we
thank
love you,
you.
and we we're dealing with you being in Puerto Rico, okay? We're dealing with that. But what we need to know is, do you have any plans to come home anytime soon? Just for
I
a visit.
I will be in New Orleans, and I'm not sure who's listening, but I'm coming at the end of May to surprise one of my students who's graduating from high school.
Oh, great.
So I will
Great.
be there the first week of June. I'll let you know, Delasper, so that I
Okay.
can can come and do a visit. Yes. And see you
Thank
guys.
you.
And
Thank you.
Delasper, in all fairness, I just want everyone to know I did not move to Puerto Rico just because I wanted to live on the beach and have fun. I moved to Puerto Rico because when I lived in Texas, I had a lot of Spanish speaking families that I would go into homes and I always had translators and other nationalities as well in terms of having translators because Houston is very diverse. And I just decided I didn't want to have a translator anymore. So I moved to Puerto Rico and immersed myself and to learn the language. COVID's put a little glitch in that because the schools aren't open and I don't get to practice as much, but that's why I'm here, so that I can be a bilingual autism specialist. Not that I'm into titles, but I want to be able to just not have a translator. I just do. So
That's amazing because that in itself shows your love for this and your passion for it, and to basically prepare yourself to be able to talk to other people without having to wait for somebody to come and translate for you is amazing to me. You guys, I'm a little selfish because I had just kind of gotten to Stacy and then all of a sudden she was gone.
I
So
know.
don't take that the wrong way, because believe it or not, even though she's in Puerto Rico, she's only a phone call or a text away from me.
Yes.
So it's not any bad vibes at all. No bad vibes at all. Now, if she goes to somewhere else, we might have a difficulty.
Oh gosh.
But
I know.
we can
My
deal with
family's in
that.
Australia want me to come to Australia. They're like, you need to come to Australia. I'm like, I will come for a visit. I'm not moving to Australia. But yeah, my family's, it's so funny. They're like, you need to move to Australia. They said I had a 7 a.m. session this morning with one of my families in Australia. And the dad was like, I just need you to move here. I'm like, well, that's not happening. So
We're going to keep zooming it, okay?
Exactly. I know when I was in Ghana, one of the moms came, and it was just a delightful situation to meet her and her son. And I was teaching the speech therapist who was there full time how to facilitate communication. And the mom said, I went to my husband and told him, we need to figure out how to keep her here. And so she came back the next time and said, my husband is a doctor and we have a room for you and we will have a driver and we need you to move in and stay with us for a year. I was like, I don't have a visa to stay for a whole year. I have to leave in 2 weeks, but it was a nice offer. She was like, we need you to stay. And I'm like, I can't stay in Ghana. I have family. I can't. So I hope to go back and visit. It's so expensive to fly to Ghana. It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But I had angels and people supported me. I mean, it was definitely a trip that I said it, and I had not one glitch, except I was late for my flight. And I remember I have like these 2 suitcases where like I have like all this sensory stuff. I'm like bringing like all these things. And I even forgot about like my stuff. And I was like, oh, I guess I should bring like the toothbrush or something. And so I get to the ticket and I'm like, I've missed my flight. I missed my flight. And so then he said, well, where are you going? And I said, I'm going to Africa to bring things and do training for the special needs children. And I said it just like that. And he said, oh, we are going to get you. And they got me like a new flight. And I said, I think my bags might be like a little overweight because I have so much to bring that they can't get. Oh, forget it. We're just went. I mean, it was like everything, not one glitch. I got there. I had no idea where I was going. I literally made a phone call, said, hey, would you like for me to come and do some training? And they were like, yes, when can you get here? And I was like, oh, I don't have any money, but let me figure it out. And I did. Like, it was amazing 6 weeks. I think I got more out of it than I feel like I gave back, but it's really great. And what I love is the teachers at the schools have continued to implement the strategies, continued to reach out. I mean, one of the schools, they literally all huddle around one computer for me to do trainings and that's where I say, there's no excuse for any educator. I went to a place where they don't have laminators at a Walmart. They had visuals up, they had laptop, they're getting training, they are really motivated. And those teachers got paid very minimal and they had donated food. That's how they got their paycheck. So that, and they had no teaching certification, all of them. It doesn't mean just because you have, I'm not saying that people shouldn't get certified. I'm saying there are people that can do and teach and work with our children that just want to do the work. And those are the people that we need to find. So I could talk forever. I see we are at the end of the hour. And thank you so much for this
Thank
opportunity to
you.
talk about something I love, which is autism, sensory communication, and parents becoming empowered. You have to
Thank
become.
you so much.
You're
Thank you
very
so
welcome.
much for joining me. I
Of
will be
course.
calling you next week so we can discuss your girl. Uh,
Yes.
but just know, you guys, get in touch with her. Website is down here. I know Denise already has. So you let me know who gets in touch with you first, and I
I,
will send them their coupon for you.
I will. All
Thank
right. You guys
you.
have a great rest of the week.
Bye bye.
All right. Bye.